Baby, this ain't Texas. Mm. These glasses are giving Wild Wild West, which I'm not mad at. Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm a former graphic designer who is trying to get back into graphic design. Today we're going to be creating vinyl records for 4 singles from Beyoncé's new Cowboy Carter album. Now, I am Southern, not country, but there are still songs on the album that resonate with me as someone who grew up in the South. We're going to be creating album art for 4 singles. Those singles are Yaya, Riverdance, Sweet Honey Buckin', and Bodyguard. Come on, y'all, let's go design something. So I lied. I fully intended to record all 4 album covers, but I could not do that. My brain does not work that way. So we're taking it one at a time. Today we're going to do Yaya. And here is a drawing that I did just to give an idea of how I want the layout of the album art to be. And I wanted to draw it out just to help myself to think about what the layout could possibly be. Also, don't pay attention because I spelled Beyonce's name wrong in the drawing, but I spelled it correctly in the final product. You can also see some of the color palette that I picked out. I wanted to keep in the Americana theme to give it red, white, and blue, but a little bit more muted to give it kind of an older tint, because what I'm trying to do is to emulate old posters from the 50s and 60s, specifically concert posters. And so I wanted to keep with that old kind of feeling. And again, I wanted to pull inspiration from specifically Chitlin Circuit acts from the 50s and 60s to emulate that style, because in the song, Beyonce introduces her background singers as the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit. And not going to go into the history of Chitlin Circuit acts. That's something that you should take some time and look up on your own. But I wanted to emulate that style, so I pulled inspiration from posters from that time period. I found this nice typeface that worked for this design called Coffee Service. And I like it because it's a script font, but it looks almost like a brush, like it was created with a paintbrush or like a calligraphy pen. And I wanted to keep with that same style because I was seeing a lot of typefaces in the inspiration that I pulled that were similar to the style that Coffee Service is. So I'm going to add a rectangle around Beyonce's name just to make it pop out a little bit more. I'm going to keep the background a light color. It's not quite white. It's almost like a cream or off-white because, again, I want to make it feel older and age the design a little bit. And so I need Beyonce's name to pop off of the background. So I'm going to add this rectangle just to make it a little bit more higher contrast and put it behind her name just to make her name stand out because she is the main act. I'm going to use this muted red again just to make it stand out a little bit more. And this red I really like because it is muted and it still gives that Americana red, white, and blue feel, but it's not bright cherry red. It's almost like reddish orange. Again, it helps to stand out. It helps to make whatever is in front of it pop a little bit more. Beyonce has an accent mark in her name over the E, but I wanted to play with the accent mark a little bit. So instead of actually using an accent mark, I wanted to use a star because in a lot of the promo material for Cowboy Carter, she uses a lot of stars. And I wanted to keep with that same feel, the Americana red, white, and blue stars and stripes. And I wanted to replace the accent mark with a star. And I didn't want the star to be the same color as the name. I wanted it to stand out just a little bit, so I'm using the blue in my color palette. I'm messing with the dimension of the rectangle because I can't figure out if I want it to be equal on both sides or if I want one side to be a little narrower than the other. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to figure out how I want it to look. A lot of the inspiration that I had, the rectangles or the angular shapes that you see are not perfect. They're skewed, and I'm pretty sure this is because those designs were created by hand. And so I want to keep that same feel. I feel like the space underneath her name is lacking a little bit, so I'm going to add a straight line underneath, but I'm going to play with the weight of the line so that it doesn't look like a straight line that was created on Illustrator. I wanted to make it look more like a line that was created with a calligraphy pen, just like the name looks like it was created with a calligraphy pen. So I'm going to adjust the weight of the line so that it doesn't look quite so linear. It looks a little bit more natural and like it was created by hand. Okay, now let's work on the title of the song. So I'm using this typeface called Acumen Variable Concept, and it is a narrow typeface that is also a little bit italicized, and so I wanted to keep with that kind of fluid motion and create a title for the album cover that matched that. I initially had the word Yaya as one word, but I actually realized that it is two words on the album. So later on I fixed it, but right now it is one word. I'm still using stars because I like that motif, and I'm using this blue star to fill up the space in between Beyoncé and the title of the song. And I want to continue to use the blue color because I like the continuation of the red, white, and blue. Now let's type out the name of the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit. I'm going to use the same typeface that I used for Beyonce's name just to continue the hand-drawn kind of feel. I want it to look like old groups from back then, like Ike and Tina and the Ikettes, or Gladys Knight and the Pips. So the word chitlin has an apostrophe at the end because that's the way it's spelled. And just like Beyonce's name, instead of using an apostrophe at the end, I'm going to use that star again. So I'm just going to shrink it down to the size of the text of Rodeo Chitlin Circuit and angle it so it has a little bit of movement, so it's not a straight on star, but the point of the star is pointing at an angle just like it is in Beyonce's name. I wanted to play with the arrangement of the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit. I originally wanted it to be underneath Beyonce's name, but it's getting a little crowded with the star and with the title of the song. So I'm going to see if I can get it to either fit there or maybe move it to a different spot. Let's see what it looks like next to Beyonce's name in that top right corner. I think it looks nice. I like the continuation of Beyonce and the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit. It all is on one diagonal line. I think that looks nice. I like it. I want to make it fit better in that right corner, so I'm going to adjust the shape of the text box so that it lines up with Beyoncé's name and the edge of the album. Now let's import the AI generated images that will represent the rodeo chitlin circuit, as well as an image that I edited of Beyoncé that's going to match the same style as the rodeo chitlin circuit singers. I adjusted the color of each of the images so that they kind of look almost like Xeroxed, but also like aged paper. To me, they look like newspaper. I just wanted to give it an older feel. They're almost like sepia tone. So speaking of the AI generated images, I've been using AI in a lot of my graphic designs, especially designs where I need a photo, but I don't have the time or the resources to create my own. So I use AI generated images to fill that gap. And so the 3 rodeo chitlin circuit singers were all AI generated using a prompt that was like 1960s black woman. I specifically wanted them to have blonde hair to match Beyonce's blonde hair, because usually in girl groups of that time, the singers all had matching or very similar hairstyles. And so even though the hairstyles are different, each of them is unique, I still wanted to keep the same color, and I also wanted to keep the same level of volume for each of the styles. So I based it off of the original image that I had of Beyonce, and she has this nice bouffant kind of style, and it's this platinum blonde bouffant. And I wanted the rodeo chitlin circuit singers to have that similar style. I adjusted the direction that some of them are facing to give it some variety. I saw a lot of the posters that I drew inspiration from didn't have the singers all looking in the same direction, and I thought that was interesting. So I wanted to use that effect as well. And I'm going to add some circles behind the singers because, again, I want them to stand out from the background and kind of draw your eye in and focus on each of the singers. So I'm going to put these ovals in the background. I'm trying to figure out which color I like best behind them. I think the red is nice, but I don't want to conflict with Beyonce's name and the rectangle that's behind her name. So, I think I'm gonna go with the blue. And plus, I think I want to reserve the red color for Beyonce, since the red is already behind her name. I think the rodeo chitlin circuit singer should be blue, and then the oval behind Beyonce should be red. Let's see how that looks. Then we'll put the final touches on it. So since Beyoncé be cussing in this song, let's add a parental advisory sticker, but I'm going to change it to make it the same color scheme that we already have on the album cover. So I'm going to take this design into Photoshop so that I can add some texture to it to make it a little bit more aged, and we'll see the final result. And here she is. Look at her. She's so lovely. This is the final result. I did a little bit of texture in Photoshop. I also edited the picture I had of Beyoncé because the curls were driving me crazy the way that they were. But now I feel like they're a little bit more manageable. So here it is. If you like this video, feel free to like this video. Also, check out some of the other content that I have where I have designed different things. I've talked about my graphic design experience. Well, I will catch you in the next video. Bye!